Right, hello everybody. Welcome back to The Ripple Effect. I'm joined by Nedum Onuoha, who is about to rank managers. He's probably met all of them. He's probably mates with at least 60% of them.
Who's paid me off?
But he's about to burn some bridges. The tiers are
fair,
as
they can't
follows.
recruit me anymore, so we're all gone, aren't we?
Exactly, yeah. Well, and you're not going to be a manager, just to be clear?
Mm-mm.
No, don't fancy that?
Especially not after doing stuff like this.
Too pretty, far too pretty.
Yeah,
these are the tiers. So we're going to go through the different managers. Manager of the season nominee, one will be the manager of the season, and we will reveal that at the end. But if it's a nominee, we put it in there. Great. He's good, but is he good? Poor season, gone by November, which is obviously a famous one from previous years gone past. Let's get straight into it. We're going to kick off with a man I met actually last week.
Oh, so you think he's manager of the season then? Yeah?
I think he was very hard done by. I'd love to chat to him on the podcast about his tactics. I really would, Russell, please. Russell Martin at Southampton got 12 points. Obviously, Southampton finished in 20th. 2 wins, 6 draws, 30 losses. That's the Premier League record, not Russell Martin's. I guess the one question with him, obviously, was the style of play. How do you feel about that?
So for him now in these tiers, he can't go in the gone by November. So he's just going to, there's like poor and gone by November. It's going to be gone by November for people in the job still.
In the mud already, the tier list.
Okay.
So yeah, he's probably going to go poor, isn't he?
He's going to go poor, but I can understand why it was poor. Because I think as I look at that Southampton team, I think relatively speaking, they would have been in the bottom 3 anyway. You can make them more competitive, but it doesn't make them a team that would potentially stay in the league.
Yeah.
You could boost their chances, but the chances in my mind were never going to be high. Because as I look at that squad, how good is it by comparison to others?
And I guess if you've got the ball, that's why I would like to talk to Russell Martin about, like, does he hold, obviously he learns from every experience, but
100%, yeah.
Would he do it exactly the same?
He said, I think he's been on Monday Night Football and he addressed some of the things which he would like to change.
Right.
And some of it would be about being more ruthless in transition and so on. But again, with all due respect to those players, because I played with a few of them and so on, if they would have performed to their absolute best this season, how many points would you have had them on?
You would have been thrilled with 35.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you're kind of on a hiding to nothing.
Yeah.
I think also that's the thing. It's like it becomes a setting for the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think with all of those teams down the bottom, like you get to a point where the setting's just going to be the problems, the malaise. I guess like results change things.
100%. You can always talk about the problems that they have when they're not winning games, but 3 teams, if not more, 3 to 5 teams will always be losing a lot of games of football through the season. And you can make an adjustment, but it makes you slightly more competitive, but doesn't necessarily make you better.
Yeah. We've done a podcast talking about Man City as well, and that was kind of a question I was going to ask about that. Is like, and it will be a theme maybe here of like, when do you change? Do you change? How much do you change? Like during a season as well, because you possibly, if your setting is like we play this way, that's you're sort of the illusion's gone if you if you back down on that. I'm guessing.
Let's put it this way. So for as bad as people perceive Russell Martin to be, and seeing how they played in the Championship the year before, I thought they were great and so on.
Yeah.
For as bad as we thought they were, how did Juric do with a more direct style of play?
He stunk the place out. It was awful.
So I think maybe the job wasn't too bad then.
Come on the pod, Russell, and have a chat about it.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I think
it was so cool, mate. We'd watched the playoff final and they were right in front of us, and we were just like, they would just give us these little amazing little bits.
For anybody that ever gets the chance, like if you want to learn about football, speak to people involved in it now. It doesn't matter what tier you believe that they are. They'll talk about it in a manner which you will not hear.
Totally.
Ever.
I did the same with so the first half of the FA Cup final. I sat watching it with Troy, and he was like, I mean, there's a lot of lexicon that I didn't know. But and once I figured it out, I was like, okay. But the way he sort of saw it so quickly, it was just like
the way people involved in a game watch games compared to people who are interested in it. It's 2 completely different things because you can't help but be functional as you watch the game itself.
Yeah, and it's sort of I'm just desperate to be around those people more. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Right, Juric, he was gone by November.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, there you go. Russell was gone by November. I'm sorry. So, the tier list is back. We're fine. So they've hung in there. It's actually almost like a trophy to be on poor because you've at least got your job still.
Yes, okay.
Kieran McKenna still has his job. They conceded 82 goals, fewest clean sheets with 2. His stock was incredible.
Sorry, did you say 2?
2, yeah.
That is a very interesting statistic.
Has he got away with it a little bit?
I think he has a little bit. I think it's not. I don't think he's a bad manager, but I think people are quite fond of him. So I think at times you sort of disregard certain things that you see in
Because
exchange.
I remember us talking about, like, we had a bit of a debate. I thought that Ipswich squad should have done better. And you weren't totally sure on that in terms of the quality in that squad.
I think that's an Ipswich squad that'll do great in the Championship.
Yeah. The pressure will be on to, like, I think he's fun. I think people are kind of holding their sort of their shots, because you can absolutely see them going down, getting 100 points, bounce back up.
Yeah, how many players in that team had played Premier League football before?
Yeah, I think it was who was it? Ben Johnson had the most games. It was 60.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was nothing. So I think naturally his stock will have taken a bit of a hit.
I don't think so. I think he's gotten away with it.
I think he was this, like, utter messiah going into it because he hadn't failed, and he has failed.
It's like Rob Edwards. It's like Rob Edwards a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's the other side of it. But I guess the difference, I think, with Luton was that I think you had a really solid group of pros there that kind of caught fire, and then they were able to get themselves up in a championship where, you know, every game is up for grabs.
Isn't that the same as Ipswich though?
No, I think the first time going up, yeah. I think this time now, when I'm talking more about Luton have gone down again, haven't they?
Yeah.
And Rob Edwards has lost his job. I noticed it myself at Loftus Road. We got a draw, we might have beaten them. And the problem they had is you had players that were probably mid-championship, but it was a big game for us.
Yeah.
Because we were playing the team that was in the Premier League. And so we sort of were so up for it. Their confidence was low. They couldn't get any luck, and it absolutely destroyed them. This Ipswich team, I think, will just have too much quality, regardless of that FA Cup final tax.
If they don't, and he's the manager, possibly gone by November.
Yep.
But in reality,
the Championship is brutal. Yeah. I don't think he will be.
Yeah, I don't think he will be. I think the job that he's done isn't as good as some people would have hoped. I don't think there's an expectation that they would have been, say, definitely staying in the Premier League.
Good, but is he good? Would you dare?
I think
it's been such a poor season.
I think for a Premier League manager, I'd say yes, because a lot of people fancy him to be able to take that long term.
Right.
So I think I'll pop that into.
Okay.
Is he good? Yeah.
Oh wow, he snuck in there last minute.
What do you reckon?
22 points.
So Leicester got more, didn't they?
25.
Leicester get hammered. Leicester
1-2 the last 5.
Yeah, Leicester have been hammered this year. How bad they've been.
Who do you think's got a better squad, Leicester or Ipswich? Going into the season.
Going into the season.
This season starts it.
I think I probably would have said Vibes are better at Ipswich.
I thought Ipswich was better, yeah.
Because was it not the former Forest manager was in charge?
Yeah,
Cooper was in charge of Leicester at that time. That's a tricky thing in itself. So yeah, I think I would have.
Let's discuss these together. Cooper I've not got in here. I've actually got Ruud. I can't see Ruud. Where are you, Ruud? There you are. So Ruud sort of stepped in. I just didn't get the appointment at the time. I didn't understand it. I don't think it was good for him, really.
I think as a manager, it's good to not doubt yourself, to believe that you can take up any opportunity.
That's
and if a manager loses a job and a spot's available, like, why would you not think you can do it? But in reality, like, they went on such a bad run. They looked for a second just pathetic, like, as a club. In the Premier
it was
League.
Ugly, wasn't it? Like, you know, that run of games where they couldn't get a goal.
Yeah,
like,
couldn't get a goal, couldn't get a win. They're losing every game.
They improved a little bit right near the end of the season, but it was kind of like the Vardy party, wasn't it? So everyone's kind of like doing it.
A very deserved one, by the way.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Going back to 2014 when he was at Leicester there,
and
we got promoted with us, and obviously they finished first, we were third. Yeah. I didn't think, especially after the next year, I didn't think that he's going to be a guy who's walking away with 100 Premier League goals plus.
Really, yeah.
I didn't think he was going to be staying for that long. I thought he was a good player or whatever.
We were up there with him, weren't we? And we sort of lost in December, and then that was the kind of...
We lost at home in December to them, like 2-0 in a game. I think it's 2-0, and we battered them, it felt like. And then from there, they went on a 20-something game unbeaten streak. Yeah. I remember we'd be playing a game, finish the game, check my phone, Leicester have won.
Yeah,
whatever we did, they did it, and then more.
So I'm literally looking at these two next to each other, both in the poor bracket right now. And because I think that is worth thinking, because we kind of like... We're kind of letting McKenna get away with it. We've got this general understanding that he's great.
I think.
But then you've got Ruud van Nistelrooy.
I think Ruud's got to be gone by November, you know, just because, like, I think McKenna is unlikely to get sacked. I think Ruud, I'm not even sure if Ruud will still be there at the start of next season.
Yeah. I think Ruud gone by November. I think there's been a lot of talk that it doesn't sound like it feels precarious, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not going to give good, but is he good? Oh God, what we're talking about the season. It's been a poor season.
Relative to expectations, to be fair, we can't call him good.
I wanted more. It's on me.
Okay, poor.
And maybe we'll
let's just forever move the goalposts. Whatever we need to suit our narrative.
Exactly. Hey, now you're getting it.
Yeah.
Ange Postecoglou, we have to talk about next because Tottenham finished 17th.
Remarkable. What a remarkable season.
I always win in my second season, it says here. 17th is a disgrace.
Yeah, absolutely, Absolutely.
But do you know, isn't it that the discourse about, you're the right guy to talk about it, the discourse around Tottenham as opposed to the discourse around Man United because it came off Luke Shaw's shoulder.
Yeah, 100%.
It's crazy.
I always felt like in that final, there was no way Spurs were going to win it. There'd just be discussions about United losing it. Because for Spurs, as a talking point, a lot of people, some of my friends are like Spurs fans, and they'll never be spoken about seriously. Never. Like this 15-year gap or whatever, or 16-year. 17 years?
17, yeah.
Like, people reveled in it. When you're part of, like, the online discourse around a team being a failure, like, that's how a lot of people perceive Spurs.
Oh,
whether
totally.
that's right or wrong. Doesn't matter how good they are. Like, they could be top of the league going into the last game week of the season. People are like, yeah, but Spurs going to, like, balls it up or whatever. So, I think for him...
Yeah, let's make it about Ange.
To finish 17th is a disgrace.
Yeah.
It's the worst managerial effort that they've had in Premier League history, I believe. And I think someone was saying if they didn't win this game against United in the Europa League, it's their worst ever in 100 and something years.
Wow.
So that was from Talk of the Devils podcast. I think it was Andy Minton that said that. If I'm wrong, sorry, Andy. But it has to be poor. If we're talking pure domestic season.
Oh, I guess you could go for. This is the thing, right? This is where we make the tiers and then we kind of figure it out as we go along. It says, if we're focusing on the manager, right, you could suggest it's been a great season or a good, but is he good season because he's got that trophy. We've got, he said himself, didn't he? If we finish third, then the same problems were there. Like they needed something shiny to lift, and they've got that. And you can. Every Spurs fan I've spoken to, it's the change in all of them. It's crazy.
Rightly so as well, by the way.
Yeah.
I am an advocate of people just enjoying moments. Like, if you win a trophy, like, this is a lifetime achievement. God. You know what I mean?
Get me started.
People saying, oh, yeah, but it's this trophy. All right, cool.
What are we trying,
just enjoy football.
I said it this morning to Flav. Football never ends. It never ends.
Yeah.
So, we need, so what's the end game?
Yeah.
Like, for Man United, we needed the Champions League money. Yeah. Why don't you just win?
Just enjoy.
For what?
Like lifting a trophy.
So you can buy a player that you're going to hate in 18 months. Anyway, I think Ange is. I think this is probably the perfect. He's good, but is he good? Because I know he's had an amazing career, but that is the yin and yang of.
So this is taken into account Europa League as well. Then yeah.
I think so. I think we can touch on it for sure.
Good, but is he good then? That's fair. Because for the record, this is going up one more tier. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's going up 2 tiers.
Yeah. And if you are angry, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Sure you will.
If I know, they definitely don't do that. They won't do that.
Yeah, healthy discourse in the comments at all times. Vitor Pereira. And we've got Gary Neal knocking about as well. Who
I think Vitor Pereira, for me personally,
go on.
He is an exceptional underdog in this section for manager of the season.
Interesting.
He wouldn't win it.
Picked up 33 points in his 22 games in charge.
You would not win it, but Wolves were in the bottom 3. They went on a run where they won 6 in a row. Was it 7?
I can have a look. They had a lovely spell, didn't they? Where it was helpful. It was, Southampton, West Ham, Ipswich, and then Everton. And Cunha wasn't in the team. Do you remember that?
Mm.
Do you know what?
That's the same Wolves teams that lost at home to Ipswich, by the way, earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Lest we forget that.
Yeah. But so was Gary O'Neill just like, that's so weird that he could do as well as he'd done and then just it'd be so bad.
Yeah.
With Gary O'Neill.
But yourself.
Because he's clearly Gary knows his stuff.
Gary O'Neill's he's a good coach.
Yeah.
And he can give good messaging and he works hard. He works hard to make sure that the plan that he has is one which the players can get across. Can get across to the players, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to fit. You know what I mean? Managers that lose their jobs, they might not be in the right position, for example. So I think for me, big conversation where there was a real split and why I buy into Vitor Pereira so much was before he came in, they were averaging 2 goals conceded per game. And he came in and made them defensively solid without realistically losing too many goals from that threat. And they became a harder team to play against. A manager that can come in and do that is somebody who can get a plan across. And before we mention other people who maybe are guilty of this, it should be impossible to come in halfway through a season and redesign a football team.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think I'm more than happy to put him in the Manager of the Season nominees because...
It's unglamorous because he's not won anything.
No, but
if you speak to the Wolves fans, like, this is a guy that goes to the pub outside the stadium and all this.
Yeah, but like the whole feel of the football club, and actually that 1 to 11, when you look at those players, it is amazing over a season how a player you can go, that guy's trash, and then 3 weeks later you can go, oh wow, he's a player.
Yeah.
That whole team looks like has so much more potential than it did.
Yes.
Earlier in the season, to the point where, Cunha's gone, and I think Wolves fans are absolutely fine with it.
Literally.
Yeah.
Exactly. First half of the season or first period of the season, it's the Cunha show. And he's getting a ton of praise. And to a certain extent, for the way he was acting at certain times, I didn't really like it. Right. You know what I mean? Because it felt like we're so bad, but we love Cunha. But like clubs that are designed to do well should never be about any individual, especially when things aren't going well. Whereas he then stepped away, and it wasn't about Cunha as much in the second half of the season with this manager here, which means that he's built the team.
Yeah, there's a lovely little balance there. I think Agbadu coming in, I thought was huge. Timing, yeah. I did look at, I think going in, when Gary Neville got the sack, I think they conceded 15 set-piece goals, which was awful. They did have the worst by the end of season 22, but it's definitely obviously calmed down a bit.
Harder team to play against. Yeah. For him to do that, but then to them to not just be drawing games, but finding ways to win games of football. And that run of 5, 6, 7 in a row, whatever it was, most teams do not do that. Like, for example, a team that ended up just being ahead of them. So someone was saying United went this whole season without winning 2 games in a row.
Mate, there's so many bad stats.
Let that sink in. Yeah. 2 games in a row.
What was it? Before the Villa win, they hadn't beaten a team that wasn't already relegated.
Relegated since January, yeah.
And it was full of... Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruben Amorim, then. Perfectly. Little segue there. Wow. Well, here we go. Here's the question.
So who's in good, but are they good?
So Ange is in good, but is he good? Yeah.
It's happening
Shows
again.
like trophies matter, lads.
Trophies do matter, yeah.
So, where are we at with Amorim? I think he's getting away with a lot.
I think so as well.
It's fun. What keeps happening, and next time this happens, I want people to message me, is new manager comes in for Man United specifically. A new manager comes in, and the whole of social media goes, "This is the guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy. He's a genius." And I'm pretty sure I was like, "Look, he's really exciting, and he's got great the soft skills." And often with the manager, you flip from one thing to the other thing. Whatever was the big weakness will be the big strength in the next one. Erik Ten Hag, it felt like he was a bit monotone, not great with the press. Like the media, not a press, and Amorim comes in.
Maybe both.
Yeah, too. And, Amorim comes in and he's doing interviews and he's good looking and he's suave and all those things, and everyone's falling for it again. And I'm not. So now we're starting to get again with the cycle. You've got your early get him out guys, and they're starting to go now.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's right. But what I will say is that he should have got whatever you want to say, he should have developed the players in that team. And if he's going to play that way, they should have been playing far better with and without the ball than they have done.
Yes, I would totally agree. I think when he first came in, the conversation was around how all they've got is games, because he came in at a point where it's 3 games a week, and he said he needed training sessions. He needs training sessions. And you can make that case for him. But he's also the only manager can think of whereby the discussion around his style of play was very much prevalent before he arrived. It's going to be a 3-4-3. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. And there's no wiggle room whatsoever regardless of whatever the team was. And I can't think of other managers coming in where it's been that apparent, for formation. Maybe style of play, it's high energy or whatever. But the formation's we're going to live and die by this. But from a coaching standpoint, doesn't matter whether you believe that you have the perfect players for a situation or not. He's got players who are good enough to have played in those positions and been more beneficial and helpful to the club. Yeah, they've had to be more effective. So I'm in this position now where I know that he's more personable than Ten Hag. Ten Hag, I think, at the times would just lie to your face. You could watch their team be a disaster and says, yeah, but we played really well today and we're unlucky. I'm like, Erik, come on, man. Just dial it back.
Yeah.
So I'm
he's done the polar opposite, hasn't he?
literally, he gets ahead of it. Like someone wants to pile on him. It's like, yeah, we were bad today, weren't we? You're like, oh yeah, I suppose you're right.
And and I think there's a great podcast called The Third Circle, amazing podcast. And they got, a couple of coaches, great writers as well. And they were talking about identity. And he articulated what I'd kind of been thinking for a while myself really well. And it's this idea of identity is problematic because you get some answers.
Talk about from a manager standpoint.
From a manager standpoint, sorry. So within the team that you go, this is our identity. Because it gives you a cheat sheet, but the test is different every week.
Yes, it is.
And so if you're not kind of flexible in being able to have not different, you don't want a million different identities. There's a difference between like how we play and then just general principles overall of what we're about. That can be different. But I think he's made his own life harder.
Yeah, I think he has.
Yeah.
And it's awkward because there's something about him to where you do want to believe in him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't want to give up on him either.
Yeah, which is weird because you shouldn't necessarily have that because the results by themselves are like
woeful.
Yeah, for it's pathetic. Like, they should never be anywhere down there. Like they were in 30 points range until the last game of the season.
Yeah,
what is that?
It's a joke, and that's it. Yeah, this is what I mean. I come back to I feel like I'm being a hypocrite myself because when you're putting Ange in that he's good, but is he good? Like that's kind of not right, but again, you did get over that line over there, so you're sort of allowing for it. I'm quite fearful of the recruitment here because, I mean, I guess look, you should be able to a different manager who isn't as bound to one formation will then go, Dorgu, just go play left back, and maybe that'll be fine. But certainly with this window, with the problem supposedly being I need players that can fit this system, you're going to buy players that fit this system. And then you might have another manager that doesn't want to play three at the back.
Yeah, my thing realistically with the system is that I don't have an issue with that per se.
No,
I've got an issue with the fact that he's not been able to coach him to understand it and to be able to thrive within it. Because your vision as a coach, you can tell the players and they can practice it in training. And with reps, they should be getting better with it. I think the version of that 3 that they have, or 3-4-3 that they have today, it might not necessarily guarantee the results will be there, but I've never feel like I've seen a stretch of games to where it was really benefiting them because they all understood what they were supposed to be doing and they were doing it well. So that's the thing that I'm not convinced about because that's quite alarming in my opinion.
Yeah, and just there's that phrasing about the definition of madness.
It's doing the same thing over and over. But it's like it's repetition. It's repetition. This is what it is. This is how we're going to play. And players might be, I'm not sure. Like there are loads of players through history who've done things which they don't want to do, but they know that's what the manager's asking them to do, and it serves a purpose. For example, a winger that stays high and wide that doesn't touch the ball for 5 minutes, he's staying there because he's going to pin the fullback back. Like that's what it is. Yeah. And then there's a benefit that comes further along, but that's the system.
But do you know what it feels as well? It's like we're going down this road.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to just it's really bad traffic down this road, so I'm going to go this way for a bit, and then we're going to come back on.
Maybe he thinks he changes that based on if Fernandes plays in the 8 or if he plays in the 6. You know what I mean? Where
maybe that's
on the
it
left
for him.
Or the right.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's alarming the amount of defeats they've had.
So the big question: gone by November or poor? Will we? I mean, that is the simple question. Do you think he'll be gone by November?
If he wasn't as personable as he is, I think he would be gone by November because results-wise, horrendous. And if they start the next season in a horrendous manner, you'd be like, well, what's the point? But he has the potential because he's younger. There's a belief in him, and because he seems to have an understanding and a feel for the football club and connects with the fans. Fans don't want him to leave.
No.
They're overlooking the results.
They like it, yeah. Do you know what? Here's my thing on it: is no European football, so huge opportunity, and ultimately no excuses really.
Is that a good thing or a
bad
thing?
But the problem with that, from a noise point of view, which leads to things, leads to change, is I think everyone will be on about this fact that you've not got European football because everyone's playing in Europe.
They said, it could have been like half the division in Europe. I think the talk is this is the second time there's not been Europe in the last 30 plus years.
Yeah. And so if you're by November, they have to be
It's
top 8.
Yeah, well,
otherwise it's
top
going to
8.
get
Come
ugly.
on, let's be respectful.
No, but I don't think they do need to be higher. If they're in 8th and the performances are good, like it's
if they're in 8th, their performances aren't good.
But I don't think that we had this last time we were here. Like I don't think that squad's that good.
It's to be 8th.
I think if it's 8th and the performances are enjoyable, I think that's okay.
Always ends up. Do you know what's really weird? It always ends up spending lots of time talking about United because it's just such a complex mess.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, you're trying to unpick it all the time.
With that, there's a thing with United fans that I know to where they're both realistic and delusional at the same time. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem that Man United have is exactly what you've just said.
Yeah, like they can see the problems and address them, but certain wins spark huge sense of this could be it.
Do you know what it's like? Right, we were just talking about golf briefly there, right? The truth is, the truth with him is like he's 215 yards from the green.
Yeah.
Right? The green is the title, right?
Yeah.
Hit an 8-iron like up there and progress, right? Get yourself in a position to get there. The truth is, Man United fans want him to take a free wood and be able to crunch it. And he wants Man United to be able to jump from, what were they, 15th or whatever it was, to being a Champions League team. That squad is not good enough.
I think he's realistic.
I
think he's realistic. But the problem is, if they do finish in 8th, they can talk about lots of highs and lows. And I think from my perspective, like covering United, getting into 8th, they might win like 3 games in a row. But when they get to 3, they'll believe they should win the 4th.
Yeah.
But then when they don't hit the 4th, that's when reality sets in and then there's discontent. I think they are the type of club to where they've been so successful. And if you've been a part of that before, it's hard to not feel like this is going to be the start of something because the journey starts with that first step.
Sure.
So like, to talk about your golf analogies, somebody birdies a hole. As you walk off, do you think that's the last birdie you're going to have?
Yeah. Of course.
There's another one coming.
Yeah,
but in reality, you might just be able to get kicked in the teeth in the next one.
Well, and again with golf, it's like you hit a shot and you go, well, that's me. That's what I am.
That's who I am.
That guy.
That's who I am.
And then you like 4-putt.
Yeah,
so
that's very much your experience.
But that is also me. And I think that's the thing. Yeah, will the sort of footballing landscape allow them to be a average golfer?
No, I think I could be wrong, and I'm sorry for speaking on your behalf, and I'm way off the pace. Today, you could say to a United fan, if you finish 8th next season, we'd be happy. They might say yes today because they're in 15th, but that journey, like it's the same with the league this season. Wherever you finish, the feeling can be dictated about how you got there in those final weeks. Are you dropping down? Are you rising up? Are you consistent? Are you inconsistent? You know what I mean?
If I'm a Man United fan, with how bad it's been, I'm okay with 8th when I see how good Newcastle are, how good that top 3 are, how good Villa are, how good Brighton are in terms of depth.
You can't be a United fan if you're accepting that.
I think it's
70,000 of you every couple of weeks.
That's my take.
Yeah.
Right. So I've put him in poor.
Fair.
I think that's fair. I don't think he will be gone by November. I think he'll start to get.
They're rooting for him to be good.
Yeah, they're desperate for him to be good. I honestly don't know. Because then it becomes it's not your decision. It's like, is the noise too loud?
If he at some point in the future is lifting a Premier League trophy for Manchester United, then all these years, like people are doing direct comparisons now with Fergie in his first season, all this stuff. And nearly
I see. Right, that's what I mean. Mental gymnastics.
Yeah,
all the time.
And that's pressure in itself. But
yeah. Graham Potter came in. He's picked up 20 points in 18 Premier League games since taking over from Julian Lopetegui. Scoring 22 goals and conceding 23. Lopetegui scored 24 goals, conceded 39 times in his 20 league games before that. So a solid defensive improvement. But yeah, I don't think he's pulled up too many trees. I think we were expecting a bit more. I was. Not had a striker, to be fair. Like one's in a car crash, the other one's been injured.
Come on, let's be realistic about that because Fulkrug and stuff could have made a difference. Mikel Antonio could have made a difference, but in reality, like any team whereby all the goals just come from their 9, like they're probably not going to be doing that well anyway. I think there are enough players around it who could be scoring more.
Spent a lot of money in summer.
Yeah, of course.
So the squad's got names.
Yeah, I would have thought they were going to do better. And speaking to my friend who's a West Ham fan, shout out to Kevin. He was expecting better things because in the last few years, West Ham have narrowly missed out on Champions League football a couple of times. They've won a European trophy as well. So for them to be down there and to be irrelevant, it was not something I was expected.
Yeah.
And even the difference between himself and Lopetegui, like I've worked with Graham Potter this last year, and I could see he was itching to get back into football, and he's learned lessons because managers can get better, they can improve.
Yeah.
But that spot, all he's ended up doing in terms of helping them out is to be more defensively solid. But the fans of West Ham want to see goals. So it feels like it's not even a step forward, but almost like a negative step in itself. Because in some ways, their games have now actually become more boring.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I put him in good, but is he good? Because it's not been a great season. And it was already starting poor. He probably did have a bit of time to do a bit better than he has.
He's in that position, like Amorim and some of these others, where they've been saying they need a pre-season.
Yeah.
And pre-season's going to come, and if it still stinks the place out, then all of a sudden it's like, well, clearly this is.
Did you see Julian Leron? Oh, you were there with him. Julian Leron's rant on
Jules.
9 defensive players.
I know some people don't like Jules, but I like working with Jules because, firstly, like he's played to a certain level in France.
He's good.
Loves the game of football, like adores it. And when he talks about things and he's passionate, like I'm looking at him and he finished the rant and he didn't like do a little wink to say, "Oh, that's for content." Like he's genuinely said, he's meant everything that he said.
Yeah,
they genuinely know. It's like, for God's sake, why do I have to?
You're
watch
right.
This?
I've got him. I've got him above Potter, but above Amorim. But I'm tempted to go poor actually, just because. But you're right.
He would expect to do better.
Yeah, I'm gonna go poor, Graham, just because I think you can do better. But you're right. When you come in, if you do survive, what you can do is wash away that nice little spirit that can get you going.
Yeah.
So you do want to get something going, like Pereira did.
Yeah, exactly.
David Moyes, speaking of which, finished 13th, 48 points. I think going into the start of the season, if you're a West Ham fan and you think Everton are going to have 5 more points than you, I think you'd be disappointed.
Yeah.
But David Moyes came in unreal, earned 31 points between the 18th of January and the end of the season. With a squad that I think again we had this debate. I thought it's quite a poor squad, and you lost Iliman and Jai for a solid period of this period for David Moyes in the second half of the season, who I think is far and beyond their best player. Personally.
Who, sorry?
Iliman and Jai.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I think he's so exciting for them. His return made Everton the 4th best team in the Premier League from when he came through the door.
Every time I think of him, I see that video on Premier League channels where they've got to like say their names, for people to like have on TV. It's like Iliman Ndiaye. Yeah, it's class. Right, that's exactly how I
that's how you want to say it. Yeah.
Ndiaye.
Any German name, I want to just shout in a German accent.
I think for me, Dave, what's the tier below manager of the season?
Great.
I think we've got to put in great because he's ended up being perfect for them. With them moving stadiums, for them playing well, to not be worried about relegation, for them to win their last game at Goodison and to win their last game away from home as well against the Newcastle side, who are going to be playing in the Champions League. Vibes at Everton right now would struggle to be higher.
Yeah. Wonderful handover to the new stadium, which was the fear, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The fear is like, and I think that's why I think at the new stadium, other teams will go to a new stadium and they'll be like, it's not like the old one. Like, if you think of West Ham, or I think Southampton maybe went down the year they moved to St Mary's. I might be wrong on that, but I think with Everton it's the opposite. They're like, we want that.
Yeah,
they really do.
It's the right person for it, and like I said, the
totally
vibes
trust
so high.
him as well.
I'll hold my hands up and say when he first came in and he got a 2-year deal, I was like, this is a funny move to be doing, in my opinion. But that's his club. The size of it, the sort of family nature of it, the fact the squad's not massive. It's built around like underdogs, real family-based stuff. It's perfect. And also, whatever Sean Dyche did as a manager there, he didn't score enough goals. Like and
especially from open play. They had no goals from open play.
Exactly. Whereas, I don't know. I don't think fans have a true deep connection with him.
No,
but
not
David
at all.
Moyes coming back and them doing well. Perfect.
Yeah, totally. And I like watching David Moyes' sides because I think there's like. They're sort of proper. That makes sense.
Tough to play
they've got a bit of dynamism about them at times as well, and I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that fits well with Everton.
He's what I think he doesn't get enough credit for is that he's not a manager that parts the bus.
No,
they're just defensively good.
Yeah,
but they don't part the bus.
And then they go. Yeah, Oliver Glasner. Are we checking in?
Manager of the season?
Yeah,
he's got to be
a nominee.
Not least of all because some say, it's around the FA Cup, but regardless of the FA Cup situation, this is the most amount of points Palace have ever had in the season, Premier League season.
Yep, 53 points.
So as a Palace fan,
what
could a grumble be?
Yeah.
Best you've seen
exactly. And your first ever major trophy as well. Chuck that within that. And also like just a wonderful feeling with a group of players that they've all got a bit of personality about them. And when you can be winning and scoring goals, but also they've got some personality, that's so fun as a fan.
Yeah.
Whereas like, if it's all a bit turgid, it's not like they've got a buzz about them.
Do you know what they remind me of in some ways? And to a certain extent, it's probably a bit different because of the history of winning trophies. But say, for example, if you move to the northeast to play for like Newcastle, you have to fit in with the identity of what it is to be in Newcastle. Because it's not like, say, you come to London and you just live in the London life and you're playing for this club or that club or whatever. Like, this is who we are.
Yeah.
This is the community. This is the city. This is the club. I think playing for Palace is that because it's not necessarily a place that has really high expectations, but then they're also not just going to let you just be comfortable and just be a part of it. Like, you have to fall. Like, we are Palace.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm envious of it. And I feel it when I'm always thinking of QPR and how can we get there. We need to do that. We need to take West London properly because I feel like...
Because I could make a case that, to be fair, Brentford are like that.
Brentford's in Middlesex. I live there.
Okay. But more so
I'm sure they're trying to do that.
In terms of like the scale of the club.
The scale of the club?
As in terms of like, Brentford could be in the Champions League, but they're still Brentford. They'll never try and go above that in terms of like recruiting really expensive like talent and saying, come and live in West London.
I don't care about Brentford. My point is
I'm moving on.
My point is this. QPR, like in Shepherd's Bush, that walk to the stadium, that ground, like, and maybe you don't want that ground full time, but whatever. That sort of
should be an identity.
That feeling
should be an identity of people who play.
Yeah,
it's not
because Chelsea aren't like that and Fulham aren't like that.
Yeah,
it's not. They're different, and so there's an opportunity there. Sort it out.
1,000%.
Sort it out. I'm getting impatient.
Yeah,
now.
couldn't agree more. But you've been waiting a while, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. And Brentford is in Middlesex.
Listen, talk that talk.
That's true.
It's
true. That's factual.
Sure.
Marco Silva. So yeah, I've probably been. He's one of the nominees, Glasner.
Yeah, I think Marco Silva.
Chance, Marco Silva, interesting. 54 points. I had 28 points lost from winning positions this campaign.
Is that second? Or is that first?
It's second only to Tottenham.
And then who's third? Is it Arsenal or something?
I don't know.
Arsenal right up there as well, sneakily.
Really?
Yeah, I think Arsenal might be on like 22 or 23 points drop from winning positions.
Oh yeah. I think they are up there. You're right. I don't know if they're third, but anyway, I like Marco Silva. I feel like there's a big job. that he's capable of, and I think he wouldn't get. I think some managers you kind of go, I think you're going to get eaten up a bit here. I don't think he would.
What's a big job like Everton?
I can see him at Tottenham.
What does that mean? I feel like that's such a dog whistle these days. What does that mean?
What's a dog whistle?
What is a dog whistle?
Yeah,
I think only certain people can hear.
Oh, okay. Oh well, I think Tottenham are a very big club with a squad that is like miles better than that, and so Ange should be again, like you were saying, where should Man United be? That Tottenham team cannot be outside the top 10 come November, and if so, then you've had your chance. So someone else got to come in.
My idea of a dog whistle in this context is like when you say someone's a good player, say someone's a good manager, but you don't think they're good enough to be at the very top, so you find the thing that's in between, and you say you mentioned Tottenham.
Oh, okay. Well, I think he's not done that job yet. So I think I can see him at Man United.
What is that job? What is that job? You say you've not done that job yet.
I think it's that spotlight that everyone's talking about your team all the time. So to go back to Graham Potter.
That's not Spurs.
Okay. Well, no, but people are talking about them a lot. But yeah, I mean, there's
they're
only so many
talking about them all
jobs.
where they're not doing well.
I could see him at... Who else do you want? I can't really see him at Arsenal right now because of Arteta. I could see him at Man United. He could have got the Man United job.
If he gets the Man United job, he'd be getting the same grief that like Potter was getting at Chelsea, where people don't believe he's good enough.
I think the slick back hair does him justice. I think he's a
good manager.
I think he's a great manager.
As far as Portuguese managers go, he's doing better than Amorim is.
Yeah.
But he's just not fancied because Amorim has been getting spoken about for last year.
If you think of that Fulham squad as well, like that, there's a lot of sort of like, you might vomit here.
Don't say rejects.
No, I was going to say techie players. So to get that to fit and work, which, I mean, yes, they have given away points. Maybe they should have got more points. But I guess it goes both ways, isn't it? You've got yourself into a winning position, but you've not been able to kind of hold on to it.
I think for me, if you, having done a bit of work, when you see him speak after a loss, is when you see the type of manager he is, and I think he has high expectations, and I like that. Instead of a manager who's willing to be more accepting of things not going right, he knows that on a game-to-game basis, his team can compete. They have the plan. If they do well, they might win. You know, we've seen them this season or last 2
and
seasons.
it generally
like
has a go as well, doesn't it? He
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
like us.
They want to play football.
Moyes.
They want to be defensively solid. They want to play football. But I think maybe in some ways he's limited by at times, like the players not being as good on a man-to-man level as some of the teams that they play against.
Would you put him in great?
No, I'm good. Do you know what? This might sound controversial. I'm going to put him into the good, but
Is he good?
Just because there was a spell first half of the season where I really believed they'd be finishing in Europe. I really believe that because they're doing well, and then they've kind of petered away in the last half.
Intrigued to know what Fulham fans feel about that, about this season. Like, are they a bit gutted?
It's just, I swear to you, like it sounds like such a dumb point, but how the season finishes will dictate how you feel about your position. Like, genuinely, if you say a Forest fan, for example, overall will take a step back and likely be delighted they're playing in Europe.
Yeah, Fulham lost 3 of the last 4.
Yeah. So
maybe
how much joy have you had?
Stings, yeah.
Shout out to Tom Kearney, by the way. I think he's moving on from Thomas Kearney.
I would also like Thomas Kearney on the podcast.
Yeah,
I keep meaning to try and message you.
Hey, it's annoying because my memories of him just scoring against us at QPR, it's really annoying. But it's a good guy. Him and Tim Ream just like flipping dominating us, but they were good guys though.
Thomas Frank, amazing season.
Yeah.
I had them knocking about down there. Stupid. Never go against Brentford. How many times? When will I learn? But yeah, highest conversion rate in the Premier League for his team, 19.9%. Scored 66 goals.
Isn't it funny? 66 goals is really impressive, by the way. But the 19.9%, that is, if you were to ask someone just generally, who didn't know the context around it, what a conversion rate would be, they wouldn't say 1 in 5.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's the same with strikers, isn't it? Like strikers generally, if you can get in the 20s, you're like,
yeah. And even like big chances converted or whatever, if you are between 50 and 60%, you're one of the elites within football. Oh, right. But that means that you're missing half of them.
Yeah. They've been so fun.
Vissa and Mbeumo, to start off with those two, the goals that they've scored, like they won't, I don't think overall they'll get the credit or conversations that they deserve. But to be averaging a goal in 2 in the Premier League, if you go back through history, some of the strikers we think are the best to have ever done it have hit those numbers, and those guys have just done that this season.
Do you know what they've done? I don't think anyone's really spoken about it too much, but like first half of the season, they were so good at home. But if you looked at their fixtures, it was the teams they kind of should be.
Yeah.
Second half of the season, they've been outrageous away.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. So the power, which is kind of un-Brentford-like. Like in previous seasons, they've been really good at beating the bigger teams, right? Yeah. But I think in terms of the evolution of them as a team, in terms of playing a different kind of brand of football and kind of going at teams and sort of dismantling them a little bit, that shows that they're it's not a sort of a home or away thing. Like they have that kind of way of playing, and they've been too good for a lot of those guys around.
They're a good team.
Yeah.
They're a good team.
Is he in the conversation
for manager of the season? I think I'd rather put him 1 tier down so he gets some true credit, because I don't think he'd be getting many votes in the manager of the season.
Okay, I agree. Great season. Iraola. Actually, I feel bad about that. I kind of want to sneak him in there.
What, Frank?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on and do it.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, go for it.
Iraola, Bournemouth, 9th, 56 points. A lot of stats here. Fewest number of goals they've ever conceded, 46. Highest number of goals they've ever scored, 58. Most wins in a season, 15. Most points in a Premier League season, 56. Great season.
Manager of the season. I think I'll add context to that because they had a significant injury crisis for part of it as well. And they still managed to perform to the way that they did.
Yeah.
And they were in the shout for Europe for a long time. But yeah, I think I put them very high.
Yep. I think it'll be in the it'll be in the conversation. I think it's where again, like you say, that right at the end there. I mean, I guess they won the last game of the season, but you're right. It did peter.
They went to a spell where they didn't win games for a while.
Yeah. Thin squad as well. It feels like it's Iraola's. Feels like he's a huge part of why they've done well, more so than like some of the players.
Yeah. So the way in which they've played is not as obvious as some people think as well, by the way. And I think in time that will be discussed, and you'll see, because the way that he plays isn't necessarily suited to every team that might want to recruit him as a manager.
Yeah.
But for how they've played this year, it's
and I think the recruitment overall is superb as well.
Absolutely.
Fabian Hurzeler finished 8th, finished strong. Yeah, the question I would chuck out there for. I think this one. I think I did it in a video. It was like, how are you? If you're a Brighton fan, it depends how you want to look at that squad. Like, do you think they should have done better?
There was a point where I think it was halfway through the season, or close to halfway through the season, they were as high as they've ever been in the league. But they'd drawn like 3 of the last 4 games or something, and there's a bit of discontent in there.
Right.
I think they've been in the league long enough to have expectations of how well the team could be doing. in any particular game against any particular side. So you could win maybe half of your games, but who are the other half of games who you sort of drop points against?
Yeah.
Because if you think that you should be winning those. So I think
13 draws, 9 losses, 16 wins. Yeah, most points won from a losing position, which maybe shows the depth.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny. Won 4 of the last 5. And I just think, I felt earlier in the season, I was like, why have you drawn that? Why have you drawn that? Like,
it feels, for as good as he has been,
expectations
especially as such a young manager, it does feel slightly underwhelming.
Does a touch, doesn't it? It's weird.
Because going into the next season, I wouldn't necessarily have them in my mind ranking any higher based on what they've done this year.
But partly down to like traffic of other good teams. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you can put great, so it's probably got to be good. But is he good? Okay with that?
Which, it feels harsh. I'm sure Brighton
it does feel a bit harsh, but here we are. Nuno Espirito Santo.
Manager of the season.
Yeah, easy, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think on most things I've had, I was like, it'll be gone.
Yeah.
The first one gone.
For us to be judging their season based on a failure to qualify for the Champions League is insanity, given a year ago we were talking about them potentially going down.
Yeah.
And I think that shows how much of a step they've made overall this season. Yes, you could say the sort of conditions were perfect. They were doing this, they were doing that. But it's Nuno Espirito Santo at Nottingham Forest who, were playing for a Champions League place in the 38th game of the season.
I think from the point of view of a manager to get the buy-in, I think it comes with points, right?
Yeah,
that helps.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I just think to stick with it, and yeah, I guess it did fall away a little bit at the end. But the points difference, biggest points increase from last season to this season, 29 points.
Last time I saw something like that I can remember clearly is Leicester City winning a Premier League title.
Yeah. Average 40% possession, third lowest in the league. Conceded 14 shots against per game, 6th most.
Which is a lot. But
committed to a style and it worked, so they stuck with it and they ran with it. And
that's why
like
you have a goalkeeper,
65
by the way.
points.
That's why you have a goalkeeper, by the way. Save some of those shots.
Yeah, sales. Yeah. The and also I think in terms of managing, you're managing an owner, you're managing a lot.
To get ahead of something, by the way, that is Marinakis. Is that his name? So I think some people went very early with that. Yeah. Because I have one of my friends works at Forest.
Certainly passionate. Can we say that?
He's definitely that. And I think culturally, he runs the club in a different way to what we expect to see in the UK. But there are other countries in around Europe whereby that is a standard almost. Yeah. Right. And I don't think it's right, essentially, how they do it, especially for the culture over here.
Right.
But when he came onto the pitch at that point, he was immediately, because I didn't see it, but I saw the headlines. And the immediate perception is that his frustration is that the manager hasn't done enough to win this game of football against Leicester City, and they're running with that. But my friend who works for Forest, who's in a good role at Forest, there wasn't a confrontation about that.
Right.
There's an element which was to do with, say, Awani, because he cares about his health, but in that moment there's obviously another side to it where he probably cared about it because of the context of the game itself. But it's not a confrontation with the manager.
Yeah.
He's not angry with the manager for drawing this game. He's upset around many, many different things.
Right.
But Nuno didn't feel pressure. They weren't arguing on the pitch about it. Yeah. But when we talk about confrontation, like arguments and disagreements, that's what it sounds like.
But I guess it's, so maybe it works, but like it's a different dynamic, isn't it? It's not like your normal.
Listen, if Nuno had a problem with it, he's experienced enough to be able to say he did.
Yeah. But no, look, let's get back to what he's achieved. It's incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely right up there. Next up, we've got Unai Emery. Interesting. 66 points.
It's tricky, this, isn't it?
Didn't lose any of their last 21 home games in all competitions.
That was freaky, by the way. It's absolutely unbelievable scenes for a team that doesn't end up like qualifying for the Champions League.
Yeah.
I think it would be an insult to put Emery in the good, but is he good? Because we know he's good.
Yeah.
But the season that they've had, like, Emery's summed it up well, to be fair. Once he'd calmed down a bit. Yeah. Once he'd calmed down a little bit, he came and said the plan was to play in Europe next season. And that's what we're going to do. Deep down, I'm sure their dressing room after the game was not a safe space to be coming in and say, everything's great. But in reality, he's still a very, very good manager. You look at the Champions League campaign that they had to where, they've ended up being the team. They might have ended up being the last team to beat PSG because they beat them in the second leg, didn't they? In the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
They might have been the last team to do that. And not many teams have done that throughout this tournament from the knockouts.
I think it's been I think really when the dust settles, like
Great feels heavy, but I don't think.
What harsh? You think?
No, because he's not going to be manager of the season, but he's not the 2 tiers down.
But I think you just got in the Premier League. The year before that, you're in the Conference League. Yes, that squad is really good, but it's spread thin. Like, it's going to be spread, especially when you do well in the FA Cup. It's almost like you're, to a point, you're going to be a bit of a victim of your success. Because if they'd gone out in the third round, I think, like, maybe you're not thinking, nearly.
Is it thin with quality, though? Like, is he got, like, 14, 15 players who are really reliable?
I think he makes them better. I think he's in, and his plan for each game and how he would change that is just incredible.
Slam him in great, mate.
Yeah,
I think he's very good.
Yeah. Same again. Eddie Howe did well.
Yeah, I think
Europe.
Yeah,
that's the difference there.
Yeah, I think that makes a big difference. And there were spells when maybe they weren't great. And the fact that like they were throwing up on themselves in that last game of the season to get in, like that's not ideal. And interestingly, that came I think 2 weeks after they played Chelsea at home, and Chelsea were down to 10 for a lot of that game. But Chelsea, I thought, were the better side.
Right.
That was a bit of a red flag in itself. But they're in the Champions League again. They've won a cup.
Yeah.
In fact, throw them in manager of the season because they've won a cup.
It done. Yeah, you're right. We forgot. See, that's it. Recency bias. You're right. Like we forgot about that. Winning the League Cup.
The way we see Newcastle is almost like a club that every few years wins something anyway.
Yeah,
but for those fans, this is generational. So yeah, I think he'll be remembered for the rest of many people's lives because he helped them not qualify for Champions League but lift a trophy at Wembley.
And played well.
Yeah. Beat Liverpool, beat the league winners
properly
at Wembley.
Managed in terms of getting over the line. I think interesting question just to chuck out there, maybe more for the comments. Who's got a better squad? Eddie Howe's Newcastle or Aston Villa? I would say Villa because of the depth.
What? I don't know what depth you're talking about.
I don't think Newcastle are totally. I think they're 3 players away.
Name me, outside of Villa's starting 11, name me the next 4 players that are big difference makers. In fact, 5. Give me 5.
Okay.
Who could plug and play and not make a difference in the starting lineup?
I think you got Luca Dean. I'll go through positions. Luca Dean, you got Maatsen. Both really, really good. Centre backs, you've got a few knocking about there.
But do you have a few knocking about, or do you have the main 2?
Pau Torres, Konsa. Depends on your feelings on Tyrone Mings, but I think he's a good player to have in that squad to play games. Further up the pitch, that midfield, you've got McGinn, Ramsey, Kamara, Tielemans. That's 4 already for 3 spots. You could put in Asensio within that as well for depth. Watkins. Maybe need another striker. But Watkins and Rashford were playing as well. Marlon as well. They had a great January.
Okay. But so if you went out and then you go to the Newcastle side of things.
Newcastle side of things, I think centre-backs, Shah and Botman. Dan Burns had to come in. Not had to come in there. He's capable, right? But I guess that's back to Eddie Howe as well. And back to all these managers. Like Eddie Howe makes those players better.
Yeah.
I think. So when he came in, obviously, like the Newcastle element of it makes it good, but you're not expecting him to be as good for as long as he's been.
Yeah.
And so that's on Eddie Howe a little bit.
Trippier, Hall, Livramento.
Yeah, fullbacks are strong. Well, there's only one, though, on the left-hand side, but you could say the same about Villa with Cash. You've only got one out there, unless I'm missing someone.
There's another Spaniard, I forget what his name is.
Midfield's lighter. Centre midfield's lighter.
They've got the big 3.
Maybe a better 3, but then after that, Willock's all right. Longstaff's okay. Miley's okay.
Miley's going to be the next
better. I think there's more depth in Villa there.
Forward line,
you just got the one striker. Well, I guess.
Are you somebody that is bothered about Murphy as a small name versus Murphy's output?
I think we need to shut up about Murphy. I think he's a very smart footballer who provides great output.
Yeah.
And his road to success is not your obvious one, but he's here, he's there. And he's provides a lot for that team.
I'd say squad-wise, I think they're very similar. Very, very similar.
Yeah, I think it's close. I think Villa got a touch more depth. Maresca, Chelsea. Got it done. Finished 4th. 69 points. I had him in as 7th. Chelsea fans are happy to sort of call me out on, which I get. That's fine. Got it done. Yeah. What do you think about Maresca? Great season? Good, but is he good? How good do you think that squad is?
I think it's one of those potential squads. Even though it's got like a World Cup winner and stuff like that, and it's got like Starboy, Cole Palmer and a few others, I think in reality, there's a reason why he told all those media people to F off or whatever after a press conference, after the game the other day.
Oh, at the end,
too right. You know what I mean? These people have doubted you. And he, to be fair to him, he never said they were in a title race.
Yeah, which I thought that was a mistake.
Nah, it's the right thing, man. Because do you want to tell you why?
I think he could have done it in a Ranieri.
He could have done. But I think the difference is, for Maresca, when you see those players on a day-to-day basis, you know what their flaws are. And the year before, or 2 years before, he'd been at City and he'd seen what their flaws were as a team that were going to win a Premier League title. And the certain traits that players have, which can be relied upon for a long period, and some which can be relied upon for a short period. And I think he saw that. And there was a game where
I just think he could have said it differently.
Yeah, there was a game where they lost at home to Fulham.
Yeah.
And the goal that they conceded was a shambles, yeah? The type of shambles which you wouldn't see for a team that might win a Premier League title. Right. I think Maresca saw that.
Yeah.
So when people are asking, you're in the title race, like deep down, he knows or whatever. So I know what he's saying. But I think if they win the Conference League, this is happening tonight, I think it goes in great. If they don't, it's good, but is he good? I think
there's a lot of pressure on being Chelsea manager. And despite that squad having a lot of talent, they're not totally matured yet. So I think it is just about great for the Conference League.
I think that's fair.
But yeah, just. Pep Guardiola finished third, 71 points. This was just the second time Pep Guardiola has managed to finish outside the top 2 in 16 seasons as a top flight manager. Crazy.
If I could split the season in half, I'd do 2 different rankings. Because in the end, like when you said at the start of the season they're going to win the league, or you think they're going to win the league, that would be 5 years in a row, which has never happened before. The year before, to make it 4, that never happened before. So at some point, like the league's going to kick in. I just didn't think they'd be as bad as they would be in some of these spells that we saw this season. And it's not for me, it's not about the fact they've gone trophyless. It's the manner in which some of those trophies disappeared. Like the FA Cup final, they could play that game 10 times. Maybe they'll win 6 of them, 7 of them, whatever. Fine.
Probably 8.
Domestically, they might have won the league. Champions League, they were rubbish for the last period of it. League Cup, I think they lost to Newcastle, whatever. So some people say the trophyless Community Shield, I get it, whatever. But it doesn't feel right to put him in poor.
I think he's got to be poor.
It doesn't feel right to put him in poor.
I get that.
It does not feel right.
But you cannot put him in great. You can't put him in
This is poor relative to expectations.
This is the tiers have let him down.
But look who else is in his poor section here. Who else is in the section?
He's alongside his colleagues and peers.
Who else is in poor?
Kieran McKenna, Ruben Amorim, and Graham Potter.
Which low-key feels like insanity. But we can't say good, but is he good?
Yeah, welcome to a JLA tier list. That's the problem we had with the good.
This is where I get cancelled, yeah.
I know.
Sorry, fans.
It's not on you. I'm putting him in poor.
Yeah.
And Pep, I would say to you, are you happy with this season? I think he'd go in poor.
It has been a poor season, but we're talking about managing.
I know he's a great.
Second half of the season. Last third of the season. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And Mikel Arteta and Arne Slot. So
slam Arteta in poor then. Be a man of your word. Go on. Do it.
Well, okay.
No, do it. Go on. Go on. No,
yeah.
just do it. Just do it.
Okay, fine. Has it been a poor... Is he great? Right, hang on. Well, I would say, as I look at it, as I live and breathe, I think Arteta, he's good, but is he good? Because it's not been a great season. I don't think any Arsenal fan can argue to me and say it's been a great season.
But they have the reasons for it, though.
But they do have the reasons for him. So it's shrouded in
But that's the same as City, though. They have the reasons for it.
Have they improved in the Champions League overall? Yes. Nice day against Real Madrid, wasn't it?
God.
But and it's not poor. So I think he's good, but is he?
No, but why is it not poor?
Because he didn't fall off a cliff 20 points less
the
than
3 points
his
season. The 3 points out of Man City.
The only the
3 points out of Man City. The 3 points out of Man City.
Exactly.
But Guardiola's poor.
What do you think poor then?
No, it's just because you set the standard with poor for City.
I'm asking you then.
It's because you
like to fit him. Where would you like to fit him?
This is where it's really tough because the expectation was a lot higher for these two managers that we're talking about now.
Yeah.
So as a consequence, it will sort of affect how you perceive it.
So Arsenal 74 points this year.
Which is less.
What did they get last year?
86. Oh, 89, 88.
89 points last year.
So 15 less.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal. I think the tiers are going to be open to interpretation.
I think. Do you know why? And this is harsh on Pep. I get it, but if you open your eyes, I don't think you cannot put Pep in good. But is he good? We know he's good. Arteta is. I think he's good, but is he good? I think he fits that.
You say you built that category for him. Who else is in there now?
So the one that's burning through my head here is Ange, Marco Silva, Hurzeler, and Arteta.
I think you can't put in the manager of the season. I don't think it's been a poor season per se, because there was a point where they were close to maybe making it to a Champions League final.
Agree with me?
No, I'm going to accept what you've said, but this is James's.
That's as good as anything.
This is
Accepting is fine.
I'm not
asking. Look, we've been doing this a long time, guys. You don't need to like the tiers. You need to accept them.
I accept that it goes in there. Yeah, fine.
Arne Slot.
Manager
Obviously, manager of the season.
Yeah.
So,
who's going to win it?
Who's going to win it? Yeah.
Name manager of the season candidates again.
Quite a few. So we've got Pereira, Glasner, Thomas Frank. I'm going to put down back to great. I think you're right. Iraola. Hang on, did Brentford finish above Bournemouth, didn't they?
Brentford were 10th, weren't they?
Bournemouth were underneath them.
Were the Bournemouth not higher?
Hang on a minute.
Hang on a second.
No. Oh, no, they finished level on points.
Okay. So you're saying they're both in great then?
I think so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Pereira, Glasner, Nuno, Espirito, Santo, Eddie Howe, and Arne Slot.
I think those are really, really good candidates. I think that signifies a good thing for that fan base, and the fact that's 20% or a quarter of the league.
I think Pereira, based on the
Pereira won't
data
get votes.
set.
Pereira won't get votes because it's Wolves.
No.
And he kept them up. He will not get votes.
No.
But for the others, it's like...
Glasner finished 12th. He did finish 12th.
And won the FA Cup.
Yeah.
That's the best season Palace have ever had in the Premier League, and they won a cup, and you're trying to send him down.
I think that Palace team, if it really, 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 really caught fire, could do as well as Forest. This season.
For me, the Palace vote is an underdog vote.
Yeah.
If that's what you're buying into. Because for as much as Liverpool haven't won the Premier League that many times, the fact is, they were still a team that were hoping to contend for it this year.
So, Eddie Howe.
Winning a trophy as well.
I put them 5th at the start of the season. I thought they would do well this season.
League Cup.
I think it's a good really good first.
What's the value? You say trophies matter. I've seen a video.
Yep, that's true.
So if trophies matter, I guess it's a case of ranking trophies.
So who's in your? Get it down to 2 though. Who's your 2? And then Arne Slot. I think it's Nuno and Slot. Personally.
Crikey.
No one saw that coming with Forest.
I'll go Slot and Glasner.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just because that's their first ever major trophy.
Okay, so we've both got Slot in there then. If we're disagreeing, then the thing I can't get away with Arne Slot was to step into those Klopp shoes, and and it's almost like he's not managing, but like the less is more sort of nature of him with that group. I don't know I can't totally figure out if he's not got lucky. But
no, he hasn't got lucky.
He just stayed out of the way.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily stayed out of the way, but I think what's really good about him as a manager that I've seen this season is that most new managers come in, feel they have to destroy what was there before and build again. But he's been able to see the strengths of that team and try and find ways to make them competitive and better. And they've won the games that they needed to win. They haven't been perfect throughout the season, but they've found ways, and they've given the likes of Van Dijk and Salah probably the best seasons they've ever had.
Yeah.
So those things matter, and I think some of that comes from the belief that a manager can put into a player with a setup whereby people are allowed to thrive. They've been very good in terms of injury-wise and things as well. Some players haven't played to their absolute best, like they're talking about left-backs and so on. Yeah. But in reality, he came in without he didn't come in with a hammer. He's had a real good look around and appreciated what he had. Yeah,
you're right. And yeah, he's not. When we talk about Liverpool, we're kind of talking about the players more than the manager. Whereas previous seasons were not for rightly or wrongly.
About manager, we talk about putting Gravenberch in at 6 and stuff like that. But he's got Alexis McAllister, Walcott winner next to him. You know what I mean? He's got the players in and out. Some as well.
So it's tough. Okay, so what's your final? Who's your manager of the season?
I think if I was to be doing it from a pure footballing standpoint, as in the story of it, that I'd have to go Glasner. But in reality, for the weight of what the Premier League is, for Liverpool to get their second with the manager doing it in their first season, I think Slot has to get recognition, because to disregard that is insanity.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I put Nuno second. I just think no one saw that coming at all. Yeah. At all. I think that's just incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Arne Slot. Trophies in the post. Give us a follow if you've enjoyed this podcast. We've got lots of great episodes. A whole episode talking about the Man City malaise. Or are they back? Listen to find out. Nedum, thank you, mate.
Pleasure as always, my friends.
An absolute pleasure. Speak to you all very, very soon. Goodbye.